All right, today we are diving into one of the biggest, oldest, and maybe weirdest branches of philosophy, metaphysics. This is literally the study of reality itself. We're not just asking what's in the universe, we're going to ask what it even means for something to exist at all. So, let's start peeling back the layers of everything we think we know.
At its heart, metaphysics really boils down to this one incredibly simple-sounding question: what is there? That's it. That's the starting point for everything. And you might think, well, that's easy. Tables, chairs, planets, people. But metaphysicians push this question to its absolute limit. And trust me, the answers get strange really, really fast. So here's our game plan for questioning reality. First, we'll get a quick definition of what we're even talking about. Then, we're going to question some things you probably take for granted. Are numbers real things? What makes a black dog and a black t-shirt both black? Does time actually flow? And for the grand finale, we'll ask if the chair you might be sitting on is even there at all.
Okay, so what is metaphysics officially? Well, it's the philosophical study of what exists, and this is the crucial part, how all those things are related to one another. It goes way, way beyond just making a shopping list of all the physical stuff in the universe.
It tackles some of the deepest questions you can possibly ask. Do things like numbers or stories exist in the same way that rocks do? What even is a property like redness? Is time a flowing river, or is it more like a static map? These are the kinds of puzzles that keep metaphysicians up at night.
Let's kick things off with our first big puzzle. This is one that seems totally obvious until you really, really think about it. The existence of things that aren't physical, like the number 7 or the shape of a perfect circle.
We all know this is true, right? Of course it is, but why is it true? What in the universe, what thing is responsible for making that mathematical sentence true? You can't point to it, you can't weigh it, you can't touch it. So what is going on here?
And this brings us to a really key concept: abstract objects. These are things that, if they exist, aren't made of matter and they don't have a location in space or time. Like the number 2 isn't hiding under your couch. So the big question is, do these things actually exist?
This debate basically splits philosophers into two big camps. On one side, you have the Platonists. They say, yes, absolutely, numbers are real, they're abstract objects, and that's what makes math true. But on the other side, you have the Nominalists. They argue, no way, abstract objects don't exist. Math is true, sure, but for other reasons. See the problem? The Platonist has to explain how we can know about these things we can't touch or see, while the Nominalist has to explain what makes math true if numbers aren't even real.
And this is a brilliant way to think about it. It illustrates a popular nominalist solution called fictionalism. The idea is that math is kind of like a story. The sentence, "Jack climbed a beanstalk," is true within the context of that story, even though, Jack and the beanstalk don't exist in our world. In the same way, 2 plus 2 equals 4 is true within the story of mathematics, even if the numbers themselves don't actually exist. It's a really clever way to have your cake and eat it too.
Okay, so we've talked about abstract things like numbers, but what about the qualities that things have? This leads us to the puzzle of properties. What exactly is redness, or blackness, or heaviness?
Here's the problem in a nutshell. Let's say I have a black dog, and you have a black jumper. They are both black, but are they sharing the exact same property of blackness? Or does each one just have its own individual, separate blackness?
And again, two major theories pop up. The theory of universals says yes, blackness is a single abstract thing that can literally be in many places at once. The dog and the jumper both tap into this one universal property. But the theory of tropes says no, properties are individuals. The dog has its particular blackness, the jumper has its own, and they don't actually share anything. They're just really, really similar. So the bottom line is a property a one-size-fits-all universal, or is it just a collection of unique individual tropes?
All right, from things and their qualities, let's switch gears and turn to the very fabric of our experience, time. We feel it passing, right? Flowing from the future through this fleeting present moment and into the past. But is that feeling an accurate picture of what's really going on? So, the A theory totally matches our intuition. It says time is dynamic. The present is this special, moving spotlight, and events truly become past. But then the B theory comes along with this radical alternative, the block universe. It says all of time, past, present, and future, exists simultaneously, all at once. There is no flow. Past just means earlier than your current position, kind of like how one city is west of another on a map. And what's wild is that this block universe idea actually lines up surprisingly well with Einstein's theory of relativity.
And here's the rub. B theorists will say that the A theory is logically a mess because any single event will be future, then present, then past, but it can't be all three at once. But then the A theorists fire right back and say the B theory can't explain our most basic experience of being alive, the feeling that time is passing and that the future isn't written yet. Each side has a really powerful challenge for the other.
Okay, now for our final, and maybe the most mind-bending question of them all. This one strikes right at the heart of our everyday assumptions. We've been talking about objects, but what makes a bunch of parts into a single object in the first place? Like for real, do chairs actually exist?
This field has a fancy name, mereology. But all it does is ask a seemingly simple question that has some absolutely shocking answers. When does a collection of parts become a single whole object?
So you basically have three competing views. The one that feels right is probably restrictivism. Parts sometimes form a whole. You know, atoms arranged in a certain way make a dog, but not a deutatone, some weird object made of my dog today, your cat yesterday, and a balloon tomorrow. But then you have the extremes. Nihilism says parts never form a new whole, and universalism says they always do, which means, yep, that deutatone is a totally real object.
Let's just focus on that nihilist view for a second, because it's so weird. It doesn't mean there's nothing in your room. It means that what you call a chair isn't one single thing. Instead, it's just a collection of fundamental particles, they call them simples, that are, for now, arranged in a chair-like shape. There is no extra object called chair over and above those tiny particles.
So those are your three basic choices. Objects never form, they always form, or they sometimes form. And here's the kicker. Each answer forces us to accept some very, very strange things about the world we live in.
Which brings us to the final, unavoidable question. If we take this stuff seriously, we have to apply it to ourselves. Are you a single, unified object we call a person? Or is that just a convenient name for a massive collection of fundamental particles that just happen to, for the moment, arranged person-wise? And that right there is the rabbit hole of metaphysics.